Good afternoon in the Festival of Genomics. I'm Liran Zvibel, co-founder and CEO of WEKA, and with me I have Pete Sinden, the CIO of Genomics England. Hi, Pete.
Hi there, nice to meet you. Cheers.
Yeah, so Pete, I'm sure most of the viewers here will know about Genomics England, but for those who may not, can you please say a few words about your organization and its main activities?
Sure. So Genomics England, we work with the NHS to deliver and improve genomic testing, helps doctors diagnose, treat and prevent illness. And we also work with the research community, utilising genomic and health data hosted in our research environment to support new medical discoveries and help more effective targeted medicines for patients and their families. And these are self-reinforcing. So as more people are treated and consent to research advances science and clinical possibilities. That then enables individuals to be diagnosed further. So it's a self-reinforcing loop. And will everyone watching know WEKA, Liran?
Yeah, so WEKA is a data platform for the modern workloads. We have created a platform that allows our customers to solve the forefront problems in life science, as in genomics, cryo. We have a lot of drug discovery customers, AI, machine learning. Many of the production AI use cases you already see in your real life are created by WEKA customers, and the other advantages we provide are also we can run on premises. Some of the forefront projects run on premises and some are running on the cloud. So we are cloud native or on-prem native, and we also enable a hybrid cloud. So if you have a challenging new problem, we probably are the good solution for you. So Pete, genomics organizations are facing challenges to store, preserve, process huge amounts of data. Genomics England has already worked through many of these issues. Can you please describe the main data storage challenges you've faced so far at Genomics England?
Sure. So first and foremost, we have very large data sets. So we have approximately 60 petabytes of on-premise storage, which we're growing to 80 petabytes in the next couple of months. We need resilience. It will take over 3 months to recover from tape, so we need hot stores. And WEKA Snapshots lets us distribute that geographically so that resilience is super high. So most of our data is used regularly. So 70+% of our data is used every month. So we're not looking for archive tier solutions. We're looking for always on solutions. On the economic level, so we've made a conscious decision to be cloud first, but at present we've kept our data on premises, primarily based on economics. And while we work through the economic and operating model, we need technologies that will operate in a hybrid mode. And IO is critical. So it's critical to genomics generally. Most big data companies have very large data, but that's billions of small pieces. We do have some of this data, but in terms of storage, most of our data is represented as relatively small number of very large things. And this means reading from storage to memory to enable compute is our primary challenge. So those are the issues that we have to solve for first and foremost.
Yeah, and I can attest, we're seeing many organizations, what Genomics England is doing is incredibly impressive, and we're proud to be working with you and helping you solve these challenges. So thanks for the partnership. Talking about that, our engagement, WEKA's engagement with Genomics England started back in 2018, so we've been doing it for a while. What's been your experience to date, and what have been the specific challenges WEKA has helped you to solve?
Sure. So, to date, the solution has really given us the speed and reliability we needed, both to manage the clinical service with a short SLA, a service level agreement, and a research environment where usage is more akin to the Wild West. We have to balance those two, and we've been able to operate these in coexistence without having to replicate high volumes of data at high cost. On the IO side, and this was particularly important, so we ran standard benchmark tests without a fast tier and including on cloud. And without a fast tier, our standard benchmark test would take 25 hours to run, But with a fast tier based on WEKA, that 25 hours moved to 23 seconds. So there are other options in AWS, but there's no other options that sit in a nice hybrid model where the store of the data is primarily outside of cloud. Tiering. So tiering between our fast tier is we have about 5 petabytes of WEKA compared to the 80 petabytes of total storage. But the way it's set up with WEKA at the top, all 80 petabytes looks fast. No one's ever waiting for a slow file. Disaster recovery, that's been really important. So the snapshot process, that gives us rapid recovery option if needed without that 3+ months of tape drives. And then the AWS client that you have available means that we have a mechanism to work seamlessly in a hybrid model as we deprecate our assets that are on-premise and move to fully cloud. In particular, this removes the bottleneck to bursting both ordinary and high-performance compute into the cloud, so we can transition without any breaking changes. So it's a nice, smooth model from on-premise to cloud, high storage, high compute availability.
Yeah, actually, the public cloud is a hot topic we keep hearing about for IT organizations. Can you say a few words on how GEL leverages the public cloud?
Absolutely, and it's really critical to us right now. So we began our journey in earnest rather than in theory about 18 months ago. That initially started in standing up a research environment specifically to study the impact of genomics on the severity of COVID. We did that in partnership with LifeBit, providing our research environment and tools, and AWS providing the platform services and infrastructure. And that really proved out the model for us. And since then, we've adopted the cloud-first model, and that's nearing our completion where we're almost, within a month or so, we will have moved all of our services to the cloud. So we'll be in a cloud-first model for clinical and research services. This is important because it improves security and resilience and overall reliability, which is essential to the National Genomics Informatics Service. And the ability to burst from a fixed capacity on-premise HPC to a highly scalable on-demand compute platform is essential to research scaling. So we can't really move forward without cloud. We do still have on-premise storage, as I've mentioned, with WEKA acting as the layer between, but that's an economic challenge rather than the right strategic answer to the question.
Yeah, and this is actually a recurring theme between research and the commercial drug discovery companies of leveraging on-prem on the one hand, but everyone wants to be on the cloud. This bursting approach is a recurring theme that we see across the whole industry, and I think what you're doing is also going to be followed by a lot of other organizations. So you're really setting the stage for the rest of the industry to come. So it's really impressive. We're seeing new analytics approaches in genomics. The last few years, we've seen approaches very different than what has been the norm for over a decade. Many use accelerators like GPUs, and looking at areas like machine learning, long-read sequencing, which are very, very different than what used to be the norm. How are you tackling these challenges?
A very timely question. This is one of the major, a couple of our major initiatives this year. So we do have new initiatives to understand these things at scale. So for example, we've traditionally used short read sequencing, and we're actively working now to identify when and where long read gives us either additional or improved findings. So long read sequencing is an important part of how we're understanding and seeing the future. But we're also looking at multimodal data. By that I mean, traditionally we've focused on genomics data alongside core health outcomes. But we're now also looking at imaging and other data sources, cancer-specific data, and really looking at how we use AI to triangulate across many markers on many data sets to really give us new insights. And to achieve both of those things, we're utilizing NVIDIA GPUs, so the DGX 100s. We use those to analyze the long-read data and supercharge the analysis in general. So while GPUs are fast themselves, and they are, they can be starved by slow I/O. So it's no good having a really faster machine doing the compute if you can't get the data to it fast enough for it to use its horsepower. So again, in this context, the I/O and the fast tier of WEKA really means we can get the maximum utilization out of those GPU machines. And while at the moment we do have some GPUs in our own data center. We recognize again that the path to scaling is those FPGA instances in AWS. So the ability for the hybrid model where WEKA provides that balance between on-premise and cloud means we can have the storage wherever it sits, and we can still use GPUs, whether they're our own or whether they're cloud-based. It enables a scaling. And with our 100 gig direct connection to AWS, the latency means it doesn't make any difference to us whether it's in the cloud or in our own data center. It all appears as one sort of large compute system across the board, and WEKA is what sits at the heart of making that possible. So back to you then, Liran. But so how is WEKA tackling the challenges of those model analytics use cases? We're just one example, but it's always good to learn what others are doing.
So, but you're actually a great example because you're leveraging a lot of our capabilities. So what customers, what the organizations these days need, they need fast access to data, and fast today is 100 to 1,000 times faster than what has been considered fast a few years ago. The amount of data basically explodes, and we have many customers at the dozens of petabytes, sometimes hundreds of petabytes. So you need a solution that can also scale. You need the ability to run on premises and in the cloud. And finally, what we're seeing recently, organizations need different kind of access methods to the same data. So we have our own standard shared POSIX, but with the NVIDIA GPUs, customers use NVIDIA's GPU direct storage. We support NFS for some legacy accesses, SMB, because some of the researchers use Windows or Mac. We now have S3 because data in many cases comes through S3, or for example, LifeBit leverages S3 for its runtime. And additionally, support for both Kubernetes, VMware, and the other job schedulers. So you need, on the one hand, the ability to scale and perform, run on premises and the cloud, and support many access pipelines accessing the exact same data, because no one wants to have several copies. Looking forward, Pete, can you say anything about your data growth plans, how well you're positioned from your IT perspective for the ongoing tsunami of genomics data?
Sure, and I think that last statement about no one wants to access many copies really flows from this. So we really are looking at how you bring analytics to data rather than data to analytics. The paradigm has to be different nowadays. We've currently got, as I said, a store of about 80 petabytes will be in process. About 40 petabytes of it at the moment is core genomic data. If you look at long read sequencing, long read sequence is about 5 times the size of short read sequence. And if you move from the 150,000 or so genomes we've got at the moment to 500,000 in, say, 3 years' time. And then if you look at the research data that comes off the back of that as the derived analytics that basically reuse parts of that data, we're really looking at moving from around 40 petabytes of core stored genome data to more like an exabyte of data, 25 times over in the next 3 to 5 years, depending on exactly where the timelines land. But you really don't want to have 3 copies of that. That becomes ridiculous. And you don't have the time to move the data from one store to another to do the analysis, especially if you kind of create subsets as you move forward. So it just won't make sense to copy multiple versions of that for multiple reasons. So how we store it once, how we enable virtual access to subsets of that without it actually replicating, how we bring the analysis to the data, those are all the key challenges for genomics going forward. And a really big one is then how we do that in the context of a federated environment where we want to make it seamless to the analysts that they can not only look at our data in our environment, but they can analyze in a similar way data elsewhere in the world or other core environments without the data moving. So that's the really big problems in front of us and the ones we're going to have to work on together. So just one last one back to you. So can you say anything about your growth plans? So given what I've just said about ours, how well is WEKA positioned to help customers handle the huge data growth that we've just talked about?
Right. So it's incredible to hear about concrete plans of getting to an exabyte of storage. As I said, we have customers with hundreds of petabytes, but actually getting 1 exabyte is a very impressive mark. So congratulations of at least having these plans. Again, we're proud to be working with you. At WEKA, we are actually scaling the company in a very aggressive manner, so we can handle and tackle all of our growing customers. We've recently announced that we've grown our funding to $140 million. We've more than doubled our sales. We now have we've done a lot of business in the US market. Obviously, Genomics England is in England, but we've now scaled Europe. We're scaling the Asia Pacific region. We have more than tripled our customer success organization over the last year, and we'll probably keep by tripling it this year. In 22, we have more than doubled our engineering organization, and we're going to double it this year. We'll be opening 2 more research centers worldwide, one in the US and one in India. So we're adding more engineers, more engineering. So we're getting ready to support all of these customers. We're well positioned to do it, and we're really thankful for the partnership with you.
No, that's great. And it's great that you're growing at that pace, because obviously one of the key considerations for anybody storing this amount of data is ongoing financial sustainability and future reliability and those sorts of things. So growth companies are really important, and your scale is becoming quite impressive.
Yeah, thank you. So Pete, as always, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you very much for this Fireside chat, and obviously for the long-term partnership.
Absolutely. And thank you too, Liran. It's always good to talk to you too. Thanks everybody else.